Are the most energized part of the Republican Party. This is an extreme threat to our democracy, to our freedom, to our rights.
Threat to democracy. Threat to democracy. How many times have you heard that, folks? That's Karine Jean-Pierre there saying that Joe Biden thinks all MAGA Republicans are an extreme threat to our democracy. And this is their strategy moving forward into midterms. Because, you know, Joe's a great unifier. That's what he told all of America when he was running for this office, right? Joe Biden, you are the Marxist. You and these radical progressives, you are the ones threatening the American way of life. And we're trying to stop you. That's why you're labeling us this. Think about it, my fellow patriots out there. This administration considers you and me the threat. Trust me when I say this. Do you think we're a threat to this country? We're the ones trying to save it from destruction caused by progressive left Marxists. Are we the ones trying to stop free speech? Nope. Did we want everybody locked down for 2 years? Nope. Did we want an experimental vaccine forced onto people? Nope. Did we want young little fact checkers that were biased canceling our accounts on social media because we spoke out about election integrity or COVID? Nope. Are we the ones standing up for our children so they're not indoctrinated or pushed into life-altering gender surgeries? Nope. Are we the ones out there saying that all people of all religions should be able to worship freely and openly, no matter their beliefs in this country? Yes. Do we want a fair playing field for every American? No special favors for anybody? Yeah. Do we want secure borders? Yeah. Do we want a strong, non-woke military? Yes. These are things MAGA conservative patriots believe in. So, Joe, tell me again how we're the threat to this nation? There is a clear and present danger out there, though, folks, right now. And we're seeing it play out on television daily. The corrupt DOJ and FBI that has been weaponized by the left. They are doing the Democrats' bidding. And that's why we are in some really deep trouble. I want to turn to the unprecedented persecution of President Donald Trump. The FBI now under fire for a recent photo that they put out there on the Twitter sphere for everybody to see around the globe, saying, look at these seized top secret documents we got from Mar-a-Lago. Look at them. Staged, set up bullshit. That's what this is. Again, you don't like the language. I'm sorry. I'm not going to come up with some creative, profound way like the elite do to sit here and not move at all, not be animated, and just read garbage to you. That's not who I am. That's not who any of us should be if we care about this country. Where's the photo of Epstein's house when you raided that? Where's the photo when you went looking for the cell phones and emails of Hillary and you went to her house? We never saw any photos. Why not? The photo was included in a DOJ filing that was submitted late Tuesday that opposed Trump's request for an independent review of all documents seized from his house. Trump's legal team blasted the U.S. Department of Justice and the FBI for scattering these out and taking this picture, calling it for dramatic effect. Of course, that's what it is. Trump responded to the photo as well. He posted on Truth Social this: terrible way the FBI during the raid of Mar-a-Lago threw documents haphazardly all over the floor, perhaps pretending it was me that did it. And then they start taking pictures of them for the public to see. Thought they wanted to keep them secret. Luckily, I declassified. For reaction to the latest on the investigation into President Trump by this corrupt DOJ and FBI, let's welcome back to the program former strategic advisor to Trump, our pal Boris Epshteyn. Boris, how about it? I mean, when this all happened and they stormed the gates a few weeks ago, I had text with some folks close to the president, and I just said, set up. And they said back, he agrees. That's what it's looking like. I mean, where are the pictures of all the other raids the FBI has done over the years on corrupt politicians? We never got to see pictures of the stuff.
Again, the picture is one of the most ludicrous things I've ever seen in my career. They're trying to claim that these were super secret sensitive documents, that they needed to get extra clearances for people to review them. But then they throw them all over the floor. And this is important. They try to make it seem like that's how they found them. No, if you actually read the filing, The filing, black on white, says that they were taken out of a container, which you see there with the Time magazine covers, and put on the floor. They're staged. So they took these documents, which they claim to be super sensitive, throw them all over the floor, take pictures of them, and then blast those pictures out for the world to see. This is the kind of Keystone cops we're dealing with. And it would be laughable if it weren't scary in terms of this weaponization of law enforcement and targeting of political opponents. It is a scary time in America. And President Trump has always been in full compliance with all applicable laws, rules, and regulations. He was in full cooperation with the relevant agencies. And the only statute that applies here is the Presidential Records Act. The Presidential Records Act, which A, the president, of course, has been in compliance with, and B, doesn't have an enforcement mechanism. You can't go raid a president's home. And by the way, in a 2012 case regarding the tapes in President Clinton's sock drawer, the judge said that. Well, this would result in us having to raid or seize the documents and seize the information from a former president. Yeah. So, of course, when it came to Clinton, there was protection. When it comes to President Trump, there's a raid and a break-in.
Of course, of course. And what's interesting, too, is to me, and I'll go back to the Hillary Clinton one. I'm glad you brought up Bill Clinton's case. But in the Hillary Clinton case, we were told cell phones were smashed with hammers, SIM cards were removed, servers were wiped after 33,000 emails were deleted. All this stuff happened. The FBI said it. Plus, I remember Comey saying that, and he listed how many documents were considered classified and top secret. Yet we never saw any pictures of a smashed cell phone or anything. They didn't go in and storm the gates and take all that stuff and take pictures to show us the corruption from Hillary Clinton, but we're supposed to believe this is accurate. Also, where's all the stuff from Epstein's house, the New York house, the island, when you stormed that? Wouldn't the American people want to see some of the evidence you had on this scum? No, but we immediately see evidence on President Trump. That right there tells me point blank, it's a damn setup.
Dan, here's the issue that the DOJ have. They still haven't explained why they raided the home.
Right.
They haven't explained the break-in. They tried to leak nuclear. Well, guess what? Nuclear hasn't been in any of the documents that have been received so far. They try other leaks. Nothing has stood up the test of these last 3+ weeks. The DOJ is off balance, and they're off balance because they know that what they did is wrong. The American people know what they did is wrong, and they do not stand for this raid and break-in of President Trump's home. Again, it is clear that the Presidential Records Act applies. It's clear it's been complied with, and it's also crystal clear it has no enforcement mechanism. The DOJ is trying to do this mental jiu-jitsu where they take the Presidential Records Act, then try to bolt onto it enforcement mechanisms from other laws. That is not how the American system of government, the American system of justice, American systems of law works.
Right. And as you said, if the president declassified something, but the document might still say classified at the top,
of course,
and he takes it out of the White House, he's allowed to if he's declassified it. Maybe some need to be returned to the archives. He was working on that. But the bottom line is it's not top secret classified anymore if he declassified it. So all they got to do is lie to the American people and say it was. Right?
Under the Presidential Records Act, this is all up to the president. What's presidential records? What's personal records? It is all up to the president. And the bottom line is that this raid was unnecessary, unwarranted, and unconstitutional.
I'll end with this, Boris, because here's why I'm worried. I'm worried for midterms because, and I'll just tell a quick personal story. I was at a Circle K today, and I hear a guy in his 60s talking to the clerk counter, and he's going off about Democrats coming to get our guns. So I'm like, I like this guy. All right, I'll eavesdrop while I'm paying my bill. And he says, they're coming for your guns. The Democrats are ruining this country. Newsom's ruining California, where I live, da-da-da. But then he goes, and they all need to be locked up, and so does Trump. And then I stood up and I said, whoa, why do you think that, sir? Because you're claiming you're a conservative. Because he stole top secret documents. He's guilty of espionage. He was going to sell them to the Saudis. And I go, oh, my God, the brainwashing's working. Here's a guy that said he's been a lifelong Republican, and he believes that Trump was going to sell stuff to the Saudis. That's mainstream media.
It's mainstream media. It's MSNBC. Too much CNN for that guy. But if you look at the polling shows that the Americans are more coalesced around and behind President Trump than ever. And they know that this raid, this break-in was wrong, was un-American, and has to be stood up to. The weaponization of the DOJ, the targeting of political opponents cannot be accepted in America.
No, because it'll be us next, Boris. I'm just waiting for it. I mean, I'm a threat to democracy, according to Joe Biden. So are you. So people watching this show right now, get ready for him to knock on your door, folks. Boris, thank you so much. Boris Epshteyn, former strategic advisor
Thanks so much,
to Trump. Take care, brother. Coming up after the break, the wife of a Marine who was at Capitol Hill on January 6th and who is still behind bars today, nearly 19 months later, getting no. Again, folks, this show is called Real America. If you don't like the crass talk, go watch Newsmax or Fox. I mean, seriously, what do Democrats, what does the Biden regime, what do any of these Democrat governors, the Whitmers, the Newsoms of the country, have to brag about? Skyrocketing homelessness? Skyrocketing crime? Inflation? Secure borders? No, everything they have done, all of their policies are garbage. So what do? Attack conservatives, of course. That's what you do in politics. So grab your popcorn, folks, because the clown show, the sham January 6th committee, is set to hold some more primetime hearings starting in September. That's right. Over the past couple of weeks, we're told the committee has been in their investigative mode. They supposedly spent the month of August pursuing emerging new information on multiple fronts. Why don't you just say, we were on vacation and we didn't do jack, but we're going to come back on TV and lie to you a bunch of scare the hell out of you before the midterm and tell you Republicans are bad, Orange Man bad, Trump supporters are evil, threat to democracy. If I have to hear that phrase one more time, I am seriously going to vomit in my mouth. Threat to democracy, threat to democracy. No, what you've been doing behind the scenes is working real hard, arresting innocent people, setting people up, getting ready for your next episode of lies. You have sicked your dogs on anyone who was even remotely connected to January 6th. They could have been standing on the other side of the ellipse, didn't even know what in the Sam Hill was going on inside the Capitol, and because they had a Facebook post you didn't like, you're arresting them. You've kept them in jail for 12, 15, 16 months. You've been using the corrupt FBI and DOJ to do your bidding, to silence anyone who's been speaking out, trying to tell the truth about what happened on January 6th. As a matter of fact. See, I like to come with facts. That's why this is an opinionated talk show. And I don't lie about that. I throw my opinion out, and I bring you facts to go along with it and back it up. Unlike these other clown asses on the other networks. So last week, an attorney for the Oath Keepers, Kelly Sorrell, spoke with attorneys for the Oath Keepers founder, Stewart Rhodes. During their conversation, she agreed to testify in defense of Rhodes. 1 week later, what happened to her this morning? The FBI arrested her. Look at this headline from our friends at the Gateway Pundit. Sitting around in her South Texas home, knock, 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 or with the FBI. Now, why would they all of a sudden arrest her? If she had done something on January 6th, 18, 19 months ago, and they'd been investigating, don't you think they would have busted her by now? So, federal grand jury has indicted her on 4 counts. Conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding. That's because she was on the steps of the Capitol. Obstruction of an official proceeding. She never went and obstructed jack squat. Obstruction of justice. And a misdemeanor charge of entering Capitol grounds on January 6th. Trespassing. Okay. And you waited again over a year and a half to do this. But she was getting ready to testify in the Oath Keepers founder's case in his defense to help him out. I got it. Let's keep it with the January 6th discussion, shall we? Ashley Babbitt's mother recently spoke with Gateway Pundit, gave an update on the state of prisoners inside the D.C. jail. You know, those folks that, and again, for the ones that hit cops, broke and destroyed things, I'm not making excuses. I'm not saying that they should or shouldn't have done it. I'm like, let the law, if it's not corrupt, decide. I'm talking about the innocent folks who were there, who walked through with a few thousand others, who just stood on the steps, who didn't even go inside, who maybe put a post out saying, let's go fight for a fair and free election. Those people who are still rotting in a jail, who haven't had their due process, who Biden won't even utter their names or talk about. Listen to what Ashley's mother had to say.
Their water is brown. They filter it through socks and wash rags, and there's roaches and feces on the floor, and just awful. It's awful conditions.
In California, murderers, rapists, pedophiles, child sex offenders, they have clean, warm water, nice beds, comfy pillows. They can get a college degree. They have libraries and cable. These Americans who went against a regime, who wanted a fair and free election, are being treated like this is Russia, like it's a Russian gulag. Like, are you kidding me? Are we okay with this in this country? We shouldn't be. You could be next. Our next guest, Bonnie Nichols, is the wife of one of the protesters who's been locked away in that jail for months. Her husband, Ryan Nichols, jailed for almost 19 months since this all began. She tells us he's been locked in solitary confinement. He hasn't been receiving proper care for his PTSD. Oh, by the way, he happens to be a Marine veteran who suffers from PTSD. Take a listen.
When he became incarcerated in the DC jail, the torturous conditions of solitary confinement, the jail and the mistreatment by the guards, being denied access to see his family, access to due process, his discovery, not having the ability to go outside or shave, cut his fingernails, and literally being mentally tortured along with other pretrial detainees.
I want to welcome to the program now Bonnie Nichols. Bonnie, I don't even know where to begin with what you and your family have been put through over the last 19 months. Let's back up, though, and first tell us your husband proudly served as a Marine. What had him go to D.C. last January? What had him and your family say, you know what, I want to be involved in this historic day? And why did he decide to go?
Thanks for having me on, Dan. Yes, my husband, Ryan Nichols, went to the Capitol on January 6th, as millions of other Americans did, to peacefully protest and exercise their constitutional rights to petition the government for a redress of grievances. My husband believed at the time that the election had been stolen, as many others did, and were concerned. They went to the Capitol as they believed that it was going to be a historic moment where the president was going to speak and ask them to come to hear his speech. That's why Ryan Nichols and many others, millions of other Americans of all different cultures and colors, went there that day on January 6th.
Let's talk about what went down that day, to what degree you can, and then walk us through his arrest.
So based off the videos that we've seen and a lot of other evidence, we are seeing that these guys were set up by the government. They were flashbanged, they were tear gassed, there were women and children and people that were being beaten and tortured and flying the crowd, and everything was peaceful. These guys were singing God Bless America and singing the Pledge Allegiance and things like that whenever these officers started attacking them. And so it just seems like there was something else going on that day, because it just doesn't make sense how people with no criminal history, decorated Marine Corps veterans that serve their country honorably, that own nonprofits called Rescue the Universe, would go, and other police officers, doctors, attorneys, millions of other white-collar people in America would go and do illegal acts. It just doesn't make sense. There's something that's being covered up here, and I think America needs to do their research, because they need to know the truth about what really happened on January 6th and why these guys are being wrongfully incarcerated in torturous solitary conditions in the backyard of the White House by the DOJ and the Biden administration for their political ideology. I don't understand why these politicians and congressmen and women in office that took an oath to defend their Constitution are not doing a damn thing about it. It's very concerning, Dan, as a wife, as a mother, and watching my children grow up without their father, and not being able to see their father because of this. It's wrong. It's illegal in many states for people to be held in these types of conditions.
Yeah,
and
where's due process?
Their lives.
Bonnie, I don't understand how they can hold him 19 months and he doesn't get his day in court. That's what's insane. And I'll tell you, I know why they're doing it. They don't want these cases to be public. They don't want people to hear the evidence that's going to come out about possible FBI informants and FBI agents mixed in the crowd, enticing, pushing people to do it, kind of like the Whitmer kidnapping thing. And that's why they're holding them so long. Because if these cases were out in public view and the American people could hear about what happened that day and then how they've been treated for 19 months like your husband, heads would be exploding in this nation. They'd be like, but wait a minute, I thought it was a bunch of redneck hillbilly Trump lovers that tore up the place and they deserve to rot in jail. But wait, no, it's not. It's Americans who didn't do anything, who've been in jail, who've been mistreated, who don't get daylight, who don't get their PTSD taken care of, who were stripped naked and sprayed with water and sleep deprivation, music deprivation, all this stuff. I've heard the stories of what they're doing in this jail. It's horrific. This is not the kind of stuff that's happening in America. This is the shit that happens in China and Russia. Anyway, Bonnie, where's his case stand? What's happening with it right now? I know you got a great attorney, Joseph McBride. He's a friend of the program. We have him on a lot. A couple seconds left. Where's it stand? What's happening?
You're exactly right. Joseph McBride has been putting he's very one and far between of all the attorneys that are standing up. But Joseph McBride just recently filed a lawsuit, a habeas petition, suing the jail for these egregious acts. And we are having a hearing within the next couple of weeks. We just also filed a motion for a bond modification to get Ryan released so that he can properly prepare for his case and take care of his underlying PTSD conditions, because no American should be treated this way. And Americans should be very concerned because they're coming for you next.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with you, Bonnie. I don't care if somebody did break a window that day. They don't deserve how they're being treated. We treat freaking pedophiles and murderers better in jails across this country. It's disgusting. Bonnie Nichols, God bless you. Take care. Please, you and Joseph, keep my team updated. We want to know what happens to Ryan, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dan.
Okay.
Have a wonderful day.
Yep. Folks, be sure to tune in tomorrow evening's program for our This Week in Woke America segment. Oh, there's some doozies. Our friend, comedian, podcast host, and social media influencer, Alex Stein will join us. Plus, out. Just a couple of them so far. How much more proof do we need?
Well, fortunately, we're going to get a lot more proof because more and more people are coming forward within a lot of different law enforcement agencies, not just the FBI, but also Border Patrol. And what we're seeing now is social media executives coming forward because they see the writing on the wall that Republicans are going to at least be in the majority in the House next year. And they're wanting to work with us to say, look, don't blame the social media companies for conservative censorship. We were just doing what the government was telling us to do. Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to be able to tie this in pretty closely with messaging from the Democrat National Committee and messaging from the Biden administration with what Facebook, Twitter, and some of the other social media platforms did. This is a big problem. This is why Jim Jordan and I filed a bill this week that hopefully will be voted on next year in a Republican majority in the House that expands the Hatch Act to include social media companies as well.
Ooh, wonderful. Out of time, James, but just a couple seconds left. I got to throw this out there since you're on the Education Labor Committee. I understand there's several attorneys generals, conservative ones obviously, working on a lawsuit against Biden's proposed college handout. What do you know about that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not constitutional. You're seeing backlash on this from people that didn't go to college, from people that worked 2 or 3 jobs to put themselves through college, from parents that saved to put their kids to college, people that didn't go to college because they couldn't afford it. So, this is wrong. This is unconstitutional. Congress appropriates the money, not the President of the United States. So the attorney generals are going to file the suit. They're going to win. And then the Democrats are going to come back and say, well, we were going to pay for all your college student loans, but the Republicans stopped us. This is another political move by Joe Biden.
I know. This is what they do. It's all staged for our amusement. Grab the popcorn, folks, and settle in. It's midterm season. James Comer, representing Kentucky's first. Take care, sir.
Thank you. Yep.
Here now for reaction on this massive, I don't even know how many billions of dollars he's going to spend on this America Safer Act. And now he says he wants to fund police, blah, 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 blah. He's the president of the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund. Let's welcome back Jason Johnson. So, Jason, I'm sure you heard Biden's speech the other day in his hometown, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton area. saying that this is going to make America safer. He's going to hire 100,000 cops. He's going to retrain them, and we're going to have safe streets. How did you feel working with cops after hearing years of defund the police rhetoric when you hear him come out and now say this right before midterm elections?
Well, the biggest question is, where is he going to find these cops? I mean, he wants to hire 100,000 cops. Every police agency I talk to, the cops are running for the door, and there's no one who wants to come in. So you can say you want to fund the police, and you can say you're going to hire 100,000 cops. It's just not going to happen. And, in our office, we did a little bit of math. We looked at the $13 billion the president proposes to put toward hiring 100,000 cops. And it's a 5-year program, by the way. It's to pay for their salaries for 5 years. It comes out to $26,000 per year per officer, which is nowhere close to what it costs.
No. So this is all political theater then. We're 68 days from a midterm. We're going to act like all of a sudden we care because we probably got some internal polling that shows people believe conservatives are actually for law enforcement and Democrats aren't. So, Joe, we need to shoot you up with some smart juice, go out there, be coherent for a while, give a speech, act like you care about communities, and we're going to hire cops, even though it's probably never going to come to fruition. That's what you're saying. Your math proved that it can't even happen.
Yeah, it can't. It's just something they did on the back of a napkin. You're exactly right. They said, let's act like we want to fund the cops. And really, Dan, I mean, you know this. It's never really been about defund the police. Hasn't really been about the money. It's been about demoralization and just disrespect for law enforcement in general. Fund it, don't fund it, but that's not really what defund. Ironically, that's not really what defunding is about. It's about just putting law enforcement off to the side, completely disrespecting it, and letting the streets go crazy.
You said it'll be interesting where they find them. Well, they're trying to find 87,000 new IRS agents, and judging by those pictures Congressman Massey put out, looking at some of those guys and gals, I mean, I hate to say it, but if they're going to go hire 100,000 cops, and like you said, real cops aren't going to go apply, they're probably going to be scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Well, unfortunately, that's the direction we're headed in anyway, Dan. I mean, anyone who has other options is going to look somewhere else. They're not going to look at law enforcement right now. So hire 100,000. I don't know where they're coming from, but you got me.
Well, I'm glad you did the math. That is not one I heard. So there you go, folks. You heard it from Jason Johnson, President, Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund. The math doesn't even work out right to hire 100,000 cops over 5 years, proving Joe Biden once again just lied to the American people. I knew I had you on for a reason. Jason, thank you so much. Have a good night.
You take care, Dan.
Coming up after the break. Hey, FBI, show them. Nice staged photos. Boris Epshteyn, former advisor to Trump, will join us next with the latest on the DOJ's corrupt investigation into Trump.